Hi everyone, this is Tanya the Lady Strange. Today is Sunday, December 22nd already, the day after Yule, if you celebrated that, or also if it's the first day of winter, or if you are in the northern hemisphere or other parts of the world where it's transitioning into winter. Yeah, not my favorite season. I've mentioned that before. Tanya does not like the cold. The Lady Strange is not like winter, snow, cold, even though I've lived here in central New York all my life. We all have our preferences and affinities, but we all deal with the things as best as we can that we may not be so happy to deal with. Okay, so enough about that. So that means this is set. We have basically this week's collective reading and next week's collective reading to end up 2024 already. As I said in yesterday's Yule reading, of what to acknowledge and release and what we do or don't want to bring in a 2020-25. So check that out if you already have not. It would be greatly appreciated. And leave any comments below if you feel so inclined. This is just going to be the weekly collective reading of energies, circumstances, or things that may come up, or for us whom this may apply to, as this is a general collective reading. For if this resonates with you or part of it does, take it away. If it does not, also just leave it behind. That's my philosophy. Again, we each have our own experience. So this is just energies, messages to be better prepared, align ourselves with, to be mindful of, and that may occur or may not, because things can change moment to moment, day to day, circumstance, depending. Now this is a very difficult time of year for many because of the transition of weather, seasons, another ending coming about, the reflection of this year or the stages we are in our life, and about things like holidays. No matter what holiday you may work with or align with, you also have things with family and relationships, past traumas, things that came to fruition or did not, and just the end of the year. This is a very liminal time as we're transitioning, so this time of year is very difficult. So if you're having a hard time with that, just do the best you can. You're still standing, like my recent mantra is, the Elton John song is. Great song, check it out. Elton John is an amazing artist. I'm a big fan of his music. So with that being said, let's see what the tarot has this week as a message, and that my guides and entities, deities I work with, and of course, that my intuitive gifts have. What does this collective need to know? And again, I'm using, as I did last week, the Pythonic Tarot. Such an amazing deck. I don't know the creator at the top of my head. I believe that Etsy, I got this from a couple months ago. I was eyeing it for a long time, for a year or two. But is Raven in the World Tree, I believe, on Etsy. Such a beautiful deck. These is a very witchy, pagan, divine, feminine empowerment deck. That which sees beyond the veil and the perception, and what lies beneath and beyond, but also what is in our plain sight or mundane. So it's got a perfect marriage of both, and alchemy. So let's see what this collective needs to know this week, for whom this may apply and resonate with. What does this week bring energetically and circumstantial to be mindful and aware of? What may present itself? What does this collective need to know or hear to be mindful of to move through this week? For today, December 22nd to December 28th of 2024. First card is the Web of Weird. Some of these are renamed as many decks. Some are very done in a very thoughtful, inspiring way, and some tarot and oracle, not so much. But this is one of those ones that does have some, and this is the Web of Weird. And it is Wheel of Fortune, technically. So 10 in the major arcana, applies to the Wheel of Fortune. The Web of Weird does. I'm just looking at the beautiful thing of the card. So the Web of Weird, or Fate itself, as the wheel is, the three fates, as you can kind of see in here, if you're familiar with that. Macbeth, the weird sisters from Macbeth, that type of thing. The number 3, but also the fates and how that circles on that. I also did pull the wreath yesterday in my Yule reading, as I mentioned in the beginning, about cycles. So this is, and we're moving toward transitioning into 2024, the physical year. So appropriate, being the Web of Weird or Wheel of Fortune. Let's see. Second card is King of Blades. That's obviously the King of Swords, which is an air card related to air, which is related to logic, action in certain circumstances, planning, intellect, applying intellect, also authority in a certain way versus the fire of authority, but this is more of the fire of fire. While the part of will and thought that is what drives is also a hand in tandem with the wands, but this king is. So this is an authoritative card in mine. We'll get into that. And of course, lastly for the tarot, we have 8 of Blades. Another sword. 8 of Blades, as it is for me often, can be a very challenging card, to say the least, when it comes up for any reading or advice or advisory. This 8 of Blades, I still see here light versus, complete restriction. So let's go over this. What does this message actually say before I, of course, do the accompanying oracle? So as I mentioned with the Web of Weird, the Wheel of Fortune ties into yesterday's reading. We are moving through the year, the end of the year, wrapping up things, reflecting on things, how we're going into 2025 and what we do want to take away or take with us into 2025 to be mindful and aware of. It's cycles, meaning the cycles of life, as I mentioned, constantly. That means the cyclical nature of our life experience, day to day, week to week, month to month, and the year to year. No matter what path we work on or live in, no matter what our lives may be or how we identify ourselves, or how our relationships are and how we experience and perceive this world and our challenges. So this is telling me that through the different cycles, this week is going to carry a lot more of that message for obvious reasons, as we just discussed, and that are present no matter where you are in this point of this world. However, the cycles of that. But it's also how, in this one's telling me, how fate plays things into that. Maybe you don't subscribe to fate. I do, not 100%, because we can create and change our fate through our different actions or inactions. But this is saying, how do we weave our own, how are we going to weave through the cycles this week? And how is fate going to weave and present itself for us? It is, some of us are in the middle of the wheel, kind of, in the cycles of fate, like the liminal, as I mentioned. Some of us may be on the upturn of the wheel, and things are getting better perspective, feeling, balance, alignment, or maybe planning for the year. Or trying to put more and work through and put things behind. Some may be in the downward. I'm kind of in the middle, like I said, up and down, but that's how it is. So this is going to be, how are you going to work with the cycles, the fates, the wheel, and the turn, and what life deals and present itself, especially the relationship circumstances and challenges of this week. However, there is going to be a lot of positive that you can bring into and work through those cycles. The beginnings and ends. One of my favorite songs from the 90s, Semisonic, is every closing time. But it is, and this is closing time for 2024. And that's what came into my head. But it's also on that every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. One of my favorite mantras. And has a lot of fond other memories. But that's stories for different days that are not appropriate for this. Okay. So then we have, oh, it's not the, yeah, Tanya and her eyes, but it's the lighting in this room. It's a conjunction of both, but whatever, no big deal. It's not the 8 of Blades, it's the 9 of Blades. That would go figure that I would probably misread that anyways, as it's not restriction. But it is restriction. It's anxiety. 9 of Blades brings about anxiety, overthinking, insomnia, nightmares, dreams. What's coming up, kind of like the moon to the surface on that. And what grief do we cause for ourselves by overthinking and overanalyzing on that, and how we're putting ourselves into restriction. Anxiety is a bitch. It really is. It is very difficult to deal with, trust me. I have had my, I'm not going to swear again. Well, I will, but probably not that, but say that. But basically, I live with the 9 of Blades quite a lot, each and every day. But a lot of it's been very intense this year. This actually came up in the Yule reading, so I think a lot of this has a message for myself and for others that may be the same collective or even part of the collective this all applies to, and a takeaway. 9 of Blades, though, this 9 of Blades shows me, besides the fact of the traditional, you have kind of the swords in this way I kind of like, with the inverted pentagram. But to me, the inverted pentagram being on the left-hand path isn't just like Satan, Lucifer, whatever the case is. It is also about what you can bring into yourself and what you can subvert. So this week, it is saying here, and I do see the light around it too, as you see. So if you are into and work, if you are like me and you're a practitioner, or you're on the left-hand path, this may represent, or even if you're not, this may represent the light that guides you, that's going to help you to break free of certain anxieties and face those anxieties and challenges in our relationships, our circumstances, our obligations, even religious beliefs and traumas. Many of us hold for different reasons this time of year, or things that we just don't align with. This is saying, though, this is actually a great version of this 9 of Swords. Yes, it holds anxiety and the overthinking. I do feel that, and the heaviness, but it's showing that this week, with that web of weird, we're going to have the ability to, and have at our tips and our spiritual support system, our magic, and even if you are into Abrahamic religions, it's going to have those connotations, or the light and love of those positive relationships you do have in your life, and the relationship you have with yourself. This week's going to be more liberation from anxiety. It's going to be anxiety, yes, but you're going to find more liberation with it, which is going to also help with the cycles of this week. And this is the 8 of Blades. So it's a 9 of Blades and the 8 of Blades. Yeah, Tanya's discombobulated. Nothing new. I have my moments. We all do. It's a human experience. So, with the 8 of Blades, so I was right, I did get the 8 of Blades. This one, you see the fire down here. You see the light. So, despite all the dark shadowiness of this, again, this week has an opportunity. Certain things may restrict us and that we have to face, and we're boxed into, especially obligations with work, what we have to wrap up into, what we have to face and see in the world, and those relationships that come with this time of year, and challenges, big and small, and of our own experiences and what we have to face and let go. But again, as you can see the light and the fire in this card a little bit down here, this is also like the 9 of Blades in this. This is giving me a different type of vibe that we have the ability to finally once start breaking through and getting breakthroughs this week by facing things and looking at the light of the situation. Now, this is not being love and light. Don't subscribe to that. I've subscribed to truth and polarity and being a realist, to be honest, whether that's negative or not. But basically, it's going to be by facing everything and accepting cycles, but working through cycles and what you're creating this week for this collective. We're going to actually make a huge breakthrough with our anxieties by moving through them and liberating ourselves from those restrictions at how we have been holding ourselves back and how we have created the part. So I know this is long, so if you stayed with me this long, I appreciate it. You can give me a thumbs up. I would love it. Let's see, this step forward, as it did yesterday, the Witches, Seasons of the Witch, Yule Oracle. Let's see, in conjunction to that long message, what do you have in clarification or conjunctive message that will help this collective to move through this week and embrace that growth that it appears to be, and the light through the dark, the illumination, that which the Hermit and the Lantern has, or the torchbearers like Hecate has, or the light of like Lucifer has, or the light of, if you're a Christian, Catholic, or whatever else, the light of God. Hey, to each your own, right? So what makes us different, or our different paths, also makes us unique, but they all are relate to the same source and hopefully the same goals and enlightenment. So let's see what this collective needs to know for this week. Okay, so this is ornament. Okay, just a second. Again, the lighting in this room is awful, but my lovely altar room. So let's see, it says, so it is a remembrance of what once was and with what will be. A fragile beauty beaming upon thy. What a beautiful thing. Now, ornaments to this, if you look at this, don't mind me using that. Hey, you work with what tools you have, right? To improve your experience. So, ornaments, look at this lovely card. See, you can read it for yourself, despite mine. Okay, so ornaments is saying to me, or is being guided to say, besides that message, is ornaments are a sign of tradition. Many of us have carried different traditions through decorating the Christmas tree, Yule tree, as many of us have, were raised in that type of household, or have at least seen it or experienced it, even through observation of things we come across through our lives, whether we celebrated, our family celebrated or not. But ornaments are also a sign of tradition, reverence, remembrance, decorative, and beauty on here. It's honoring the past and bringing it into the future. It is, this week is going to be the ornaments of what you want to hold on to and bring into your tradition, but also that you brings in, like it says on here, to bring in a fragile beauty beaming upon thy. So this also brings and reflects light, do they not? Many ornaments are with those colors, the shiny glass, different things on that. And the light it brings and how it can warm your heart, even if you don't use a Christmas tree for, the symbolic Abrahamic tradition type of thing, meaning Christian, Catholic, whatever the case is, it's still a beautiful thing. Use your light. Again, like that message, there's a lot of light in that dark this week. A lot is going to be coming to the surface. And yes, if you are any part of the world, and we're going into 2025, it's going to be difficult. Don't focus on 100% on what's going to be difficult. Be mindful, yes, prepare yourself and be realistic. Don't avoid stuff, but shine upon that light. There is always, as I know from having a very Tower year, no surprise, but even more so in so many aspects this year, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It doesn't seem like it. I'm realistic. I hold myself accountable. That despite all those challenges and adversities and pain and the strangeness not so much in a good way in the most aspect, or things that are unexpected, there is blessings, and there is that light, and there is takeaways, and there is beauty. Remember that. There's going to be a lot of beauty this week that's going to bring that light, and your own shining light. Your support system and what you put forth is shining upon you. And that's just the one I got from that deck. That was more than enough, my guides are saying. So this is going to be, the last one is going to be from the Soul Mirror Oracle. It jumped and shuffled there, and that's what the guides want to know this week. Okay, here's a great one. Kind of goes into the message too. Forgiveness. So there's two sides of the coin on this one. Again, let me just put it in the light for a second. So withholding or releasing. So sorry about that. You saw the side of my head. Yeah. So withholding or releasing. Look at how beautiful that is for forgiveness. This week is a lot is going to help through that web of weird or wheel of fortune energy and cycles, and the aspects of the 8 and 9 of blades, which obviously are a double-edged sword, just like the swords are themselves. There's always a positive and negative. There's a lot more positive that's coming with the release, or if we acknowledge what we need to release and work through. Or are we going to withhold that forgiveness of ourselves? Those things that may be mistakes or things we would have loved to done differently or put more motivation into. But also besides forgiving ourselves for being so hard on ourselves and our circumstances, and releasing, not withholding forgiveness, but also releasing what we need to, just like my reading said yesterday. So I think that reading's relevant, and this ties in, and that whole reading's going to be very relevant. The Yule reading is going to tie in with this conjunctive message. That's what my guides are saying. But that bird is also saying, what do we need to forgive of others? What do we need to forgive of what life has put forth to us as lessons? Things that we found extremely painful, opportunities that we did not get. They were not our opportunities. So that if they failed, they didn't work through, they caused us pain or things, it's time to release them. Those were not our opportunities or our circumstances to either begin with, or were no longer ours or outgrown. This also reminds me of the Stevie Nicks song. Again, I'm big into music. Music affects my life on so many levels. I love it, but of my practice. So this reminds me of Edge of 17 with the dove. But releasing that dove, there's so much empowerment and forgiveness. I'm learning that the long, hard way, but life's a lesson. Life's a highway. So yes, today, my guide, everything is coming through with music lyrics. So yes. So again, don't withhold forgiveness from that which needs to be released. Actually go ahead and release. Release those burdens that you can to make this a good week. Release those restrictions and release those anxieties, those fears. Or at least work through processing them in a healthy, effective way that is going to empower you. So I know this was long. So if you, again, got any relevance out of this, or any of this resonates with you, please like, comment, and subscribe. Comment below with what you think. Or if you watched yesterday's video in conjunction, or go back and watch that again. These two are in tandem with one another. And I hope this all finds you well. And, of course, stay strange.